What's up, everybody? Welcome into Pack-A-Day Happy Hour. I missed you all so incredibly much. Sorry for being about a minute late here. I just got done recording Saturday, Sunday, and Monday's episodes, and not actually in that order. I did Saturday, then Monday, then Sunday, but I digress. And if I did not get something to drink in between doing this, it was not going to probably last very long. So cheers to a Coke Zero here. Hope you guys are enjoying maybe something a little bit more fun than a Coke Zero on this happy hour. I know it's a little bit early, but I did legitimately miss you guys last week. I'm, I was in Spain, so didn't miss you that much. It was a ton of fun in Spain, but I do really enjoy these conversations every single week. I'm going to miss you guys again next week for happy hour. I will be here for our members only Q&A, but I will be taking one last ditch thing, just going to Wisconsin Dells with the family and Devil's Lake with the family next weekend as one last hurrah before the start of training camp. So I'll miss happy hour next week as well. For that reason, I will try to get to as many questions as I can today. And then right after that, we'll be doing lots of live shows, lots of reactions to training camp. And we made it. I actually think before we get into the questions today, this for me, I don't know how everyone else feels, felt like the shortest off season and specifically the shortest dead period from the end of mini camp to the start of training camp. Like I know obviously, again, I had a week vacation or whatever, but all of a sudden I looked at him like, wait, it's like a week and a half away. We got training camp like already. It came much quicker for me, at least this year. Hopefully, I guess if that's what you're hoping for as well, that was the case for you guys also. But yeah, football's almost here. I cannot wait. But with that being said, let's get to all of your wonderful questions, starting with Chicken. And I think us Packers fans are the only group of fans that will make listen to a 45-minute video about freaking Nesta Jade Silvera and Sam Brown Jr. That's what makes us us. And I will never apologize for it. I actually think like those episodes are very fun from just like here's a 30-second to 2-minute blurb on all 90 players on the Packers roster. And I will say, I think, again, Bill Huber does an amazing job with his article going through those as well. But just where else are you going to kind of find that, right? So I really enjoy doing it. I obviously spend a lot of time going through all these players in different little snippets throughout the offseason, players you don't know, undrafted free agents, etc. But it's kind of a way to put all of them together and get just a great grasp of exactly where this roster is right before the start of the playoffs. It's interesting that 190 through 61 is always a little bit tougher, right? Because there's, only so much that you can go off of. So it's more of just like, here's who this player is and a little bit of detail on it. Then I think the real kind of ranking and crux of it comes from, really number 60 through number 1. And I hope you guys enjoyed those episodes, but we'll never apologize for the Nesta Jade Silvera and Sam Brown Jr. conversations. That is absolutely what we want to be right here on the Pack-A-Day podcast. Happy Friday to you as well, Mike. Hope your jet lag has subsided some. Only one day. Monday, I got back Sunday night, right around like 11:30 p.m. Late Sunday. I wholeheartedly believed I was not going to be affected. I was not affected in Spain at all. Didn't have any issues on that side. I thought I would come back and be totally fine just because my sleep schedule is so messed up and bizarre and everything anyway. So I'm like, I'll be totally fine. I felt like I was hungover on Monday. And I didn't drink anything on Sunday. So I definitely had a little bit of that jet lag. As soon as Tuesday came around, I was totally fine. But yes, definitely has subsided. Superman was A+. James Gunn has done it again. Made Chris Pratt a superstar. And this new guy may be on his way now. AEW All-In Weekend as well. There's a chance I see Superman this weekend. I don't think I'm going to hit All-In this weekend. So with AEW, I feel like I want to watch everything in order. For about the first like 3-4 years of its existence, I never missed a Dynamite or a pay-per-view. I'm trying to catch up on pay-per-views. I just went back and watched, I think, Full Gear and World's End, and there was, I think, one in between there as well. I watched those 3 pay-per-views already. I started Revolution, so I've got a few matches into Revolution. And then I still need to watch, like, I think Dynasty and All Out or whatever one was last. And then I will get to All In. I do think I might have some time this weekend and early next week to maybe catch up on that. So I'm hoping by like next week, maybe the week after at some time, I will get to All In and then finally be able to kind of catch up again. But I've been a little bit off on AEW, but I think it's going to be a phenomenal pay-per-view from what I've seen. I've tried to avoid spoilers throughout this time. I've done a really great job of it. I'm pretty sure Mox is still the champion, but outside of that, I don't know a whole heck of a lot. So trying to catch up on it, and we'll hopefully get there sooner rather than later. But there is a chance I go see Superman probably on Sunday this week. I know you said that the tape says otherwise, but I honestly think Stackhouse will be getting 25-ish snaps a game by week 6 of 2026. 2026, that's a little bit more positive or possible. 2025, I think I would be a little bit more skeptical of. But I'm intrigued by the player, no question about it. I just see a little bit more Jonathan Ford than I see a TJ Slayton. I think he can be a practice squad guy, the guy that you call up and get some reps here and there. But man, if he develops into that, I would absolutely love that. He has the size for it. And I think he just got moved off the ball a little bit too much. I liked Brinson a little bit better. Clearly, so did the Green Bay Packers. But I'm intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued. And he's definitely the UDFA that has the most possible opportunity at his disposal with the way that the defensive tackle room is currently set up. Thoughts on the 49ers? I believe their floor is 11 wins. They'll probably be the number 1 seed with their schedule. Odds have them favored in 15 games. Haven't looked at their schedule, Mike McGee. I am much lower on the San Francisco 49ers than that. I think Purdy's fine. I think he's good. I think he's going to probably have a pretty solid year. But I think teams are catching up with Shanahan a little bit. I don't trust the health of Christian McCaffrey. I don't think they have great backups behind him. Juszczyk's getting older. Kittle's getting older. Ayuk is completely banged up. I really do like Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. I think Pearsall will come into his own this year. Where I really struggle with their offense is their offensive line. Trent Williams is a god amongst offensive linemen, but we saw he's getting old and he could not stay healthy this past year. Dominic Puny's good. I think he'll even take a step this year, but he's not in that upper echelon of offensive linemen. And then I have a lot of questions with Ben Barch, Jake Rendell, Colton McKivitz, and the rest of their depth. This is a team that, Andre Dillard's their swing tackle right now. This is not an offensive line that's in a great spot. If you lose Trent Williams, they're just nuked. They're absolutely nuked with that offensive line set up the way that it is right now. Now, their defense, they added a bunch of pieces on the defensive line. I really liked Mykel Williams coming out of the draft. I think him and Bosa side by side is going to make a really good 1-2 punch. I also really like them going out and getting Bryce Huff for pennies on the dollar. We'll see if Fred Warner can still have a big year. I don't love the rest of their linebackers. Their safeties are just fine. I think their cornerback group has weak spots. If you think Green Bay's corner group has weak spots, I think San Francisco's has even more, although I do like Lenore a lot, and I do think Renardo Green is going to come into his own. But after that, the depth is very concerning. I think I don't think they win the NFC West. So I think their floor is much lower than that. And I think the Rams win the NFC West. They'll come in second. I think Arizona third, Seattle fourth. And I think they'll challenge to be a playoff team. But I think the Rams win the NFC West. All right, I'm good with Goody with most things, but the way he goes about the draft with his quantity over quality approach annoys me. From 2018 to 2021, he drafted 37 players, only 4 are still on the roster. Thoughts? Love the quantity approach. I don't think he's trying to sacrifice quality. I think he's trying to get quality within that quantity. But analytics would tell you quantity is actually a great thing to do in the draft. That actually most teams and general managers don't actually know what they're doing. Meaning, it's not that they don't know what they're doing, but just that the draft is such a crapshoot that you're actually better at just having more bites of the apple and more opportunities to draft players than actually thinking you can outsmart the system and just go and grab the best ones. Like nobody has shown over any period of time that they can actually do that. So more players is actually a better way to go. I would also say we're in 2025. So my guess is if you look at most teams 2018, 2019, even going into 2020, they probably don't have many players left from those draft classes. I bet most are probably in the 6 to 8 range. Green Bay's probably a little bit below that. But this is also an NFL where you churn the roster constantly, year in and year out. You're turning over about 20 guys almost every single year now in the NFL. So I don't think that number is certainly something that's super striking to me. I also think that people forget GMs are like players or coaches or anything else. Like it takes time to really get better at your craft. You learn from your mistakes as a GM. 2020, 21, some of those early drafts, 18, 19, 20, there were some big misses in there for Good. There's no question about it. There's some really bad draft classes in there, and he deserves to be called out for it. but I do think he's learned from it. I think he's been better over the course of the last few seasons for sure. We'll see what this 2025 draft class can be, but I do think he learned some lessons from those classes. I think he's been better at drafting since then. And overall, I like the quantity approach quite a bit. Obviously, nobody's trying to give up or sacrifice quality when it comes to drafting. Oh yeah, was it Elite Chicken prior? Did he lose it? I do remember that. It was a glitch. I don't know why the Elite part came back. I changed it like 8 or 9 months ago to just chicken. All right, there we go. Problem or mystery solved. What's one actor or actress you've never seen act in a bad movie? For me, it's Mark Wahlberg. I am the wrong person to ask probably about this. Just because I don't get to watch that many movies anymore. I don't know if I have a great answer, to be totally honest. Yeah, nothing comes to mind. I used to be a big movie buff. I was actually going through and trying to watch every movie that was ever nominated for Best Picture for Oscar. And I actually got through a large chunk of them, but I don't even know if I remember most of them anymore. And that was like years ago. So again, with watching a lot of film, I watched this film, Packers film, NFL film, instead of actual movie film these days, a lot more of. So definitely probably the wrong person to ask that question. Mark Wahlberg, I'm sure, is a great answer though. If the Packers traded for either TJ Watt or Trey Hendrickson at the start of camp, who'd they trade for? Where would they go on your 90-91 man ranking? And what would the trade be? I think they would go Hendrickson, because I think Hendrickson would probably cost slightly less from both a trade and a monetary standpoint. I think Hendrickson fits actually a little bit better in Green Bay. And I think they might find it a little bit more palatable than a Watt trade / signing, where again, I just think it's going to be a little bit more money. I think the trade would be a 2nd round pick plus like a young player. Maybe it's an LVN. Maybe it's like a Javon Bullard. Maybe it's not even somebody that good. Maybe it's more of like an Enigbare. Maybe it's a 2nd and a 6th plus Enigbare. Like something like that is probably the conversation that we're having. And he ends up getting paid a very high premium price. I do not see it happening. I think whoever it would be, whether it be Watt or Hendrickson, would be number 1 or number 2 on the list. Spoiler, Xavier McKinney is number 1 on the list for me. I think Hendrickson or Watt would be right in that same conversation as either number 1 or number 2 on the list. Snoop Robbie Rob, thank you, Andy, for putting in the work and doing deep dives for Golden and Savion. Seems like you're the only one, including all your great guests, who watched Golden's Houston tape and Savion's tape pre-2024. That was honestly one of my favorite parts of this offseason, was watching Savion and Golden in Houston and earlier Savion Williams and TCU before their 2024 stuff. Their 2024 stuff is really fun. I found their 23 and 22 stuff even a little bit more just enjoyable. Not better per se. Savion's was better, but not better for Golden, but just you saw different aspects of their game. And I thought that was a really fun thing to see. So I appreciate that. If you hear one more time how Sex Panther is just some gadget guy and Wildcat quarterback, I'm going to scream because of you. I know it isn't true. And with Golden, all the different stuff he did at wide receiver pre-2024. Yeah, again, I really appreciate that. I think for both those guys, they're just going to have to go out and prove it, right? For Savion, he's going to have to go out and prove that he can be more than a gadget guy, more than a returner, more than a Wildcat guy. He clearly was that prior to 2024, but he's got to hang on to the ball. He's got to become a better route runner and just become a professional at the wide receiver position. All the talent, all the skills, all the traits are there. Now he's got to go become a professional wide receiver. I think he can do it. And if he does, the prospect of him as a long-term wide receiver in Green Bay is very enticing. The Evian Brim, thank you for being here. Planning on taking my Italian wife to Italy for our 15-year anniversary. Congratulations on that, first of all. Do you have any superb restaurant choices we should try, vegetarian friendly? I do not remember the names of any of the restaurants that I went to in Italy. I was in Rome, Lake Como, Venice, and Florence when I went. Pretty much every restaurant we went to was fantastic. Almost all of them are true, authentic Italian restaurants. So you can find some of the best vegetarian pasta. You could go all week eating cacio e pepe the entire week and you'll be totally fine. If anything, I will say, I think Italy has too many Italian restaurants, which all have almost the identical menu to themselves. I ate a lot of cacio e pepe, which, like I said, is delicious. It's unbelievable. I ate a lot of pasta carbonara, which I know is not vegetarian, and then of course some pizza as well. But I got to Venice on the last day, and I was like, if I see one more freaking pasta, I'm gonna lose my you know what. So I think I just got a steak on the last. I know I got a steak on the last day just because I needed something different. But all the food is fantastic. Again, I don't have any restaurants for you, but the wine was amazing, and I'm not even a wine guy. I actually had a lot of champagne while I was there, but the wine and champagne were amazing, incredible. Enjoyed every second of it. The food was fantastic, and you're going to get the best pasta you've ever had in your life. How would it be to get KGB performance out of Oliver? Both 240s, fifth round picks. KGB was taller, probably longer, but Oliver is faster and more explosive. Yeah, I would like that, John. I would like that quite a bit. I think I talked about this the other day, or maybe it was today, on the one that's for Colin Oliver's ranking. But Colin Oliver could be Jamal Reynolds, or he could be KGB, or maybe somewhere in the middle. They both had that explosive first step. KGB worked out. Jamal Reynolds did not. And this is one of those where if it works out, you're talking about, man, they got him in the fifth round. I think he can be explosive and dynamic off the edge. And I think he brings an ingredient to the team that they don't have. Could also just be a complete and total waste of a fifth round pick. And he ends up just not being able to cut it because of the lack of length, size, physicality, etc. I think it's going to work. I love that they tried it. Even if they completely just blow a fifth round pick and it doesn't work at all, I love taking the flyer on it. And I think he'll have some special teams value. Even if he busts as a speed rusher, there is that possibility he could still make it as an off-ball linebacker as well. So I'm all in on this gamble and very hopeful that he can be a dynamic edge rusher with that quick first step off the edge. Is Jordan Love's biggest anchor from really controlling the offense Matt's trust in him to call audibles at the line of scrimmage? I feel like that was A-Rod's specialty. It's like Love is handcuffed. I actually disagree with that a little bit. And I think the big play against Dallas in the playoffs is a great example of it. I think there were certain things that just handcuffed the offense in 2024 in general. I think Jordan Love's injury, the lack of practice time, the receivers dropping the ball, going to Josh Jacobs and more his version of the offense, and some of the stuff that they did running the football is with him. I didn't think there was quite the cohesiveness and how plays flowed from one play to the other. I think there was a lot of stuff that just didn't come together the way that we would have wanted it to in 2024. The hope is obviously they clear a lot of that up, but you go back to that play in the touchdown to Dontavian Wicks in the game against Dallas. That is a play where he gets the play call in, gets up to the line of scrimmage, goes through his cadence, gets Dallas to declare that they're going to be blitzing, reads the blitz, reads the defense, gets the offensive line, and I think the tight end as well, checked in to be able to pick up the blitz at the line of scrimmage. I think the running back as well, kind of more of a max protect, put in a check that wasn't even in the playbook that week. That wasn't even in their game planning. It was a check from, I think they said like week 5 or something earlier in the season that Jordan Love pulled out, got everyone on the same page, did all of this in about the matter of about 10 seconds, by the way, once he got them to declare, got the snap off, still knew exactly where he needed to go with the football, but needed to buy a little time because he knew he was going to have to back up a little bit in order for Dontavian Wicks to get open on the route. Then not only got the ball off on time, knew he was going to take a hit, and threw an absolute dime in the end zone to an open Dontavian Wicks. That's the autonomy that Jordan Love still has at the offensive line. Not only the autonomy, but the ability that he has at the offensive line. I saw a play in minicamp similarly, where he was able to get the defense to declare in the 2-minute drill, understood a blitz was coming, motioned in Luke Musgrave, got Luke Musgrave lined up in line on the next to the offensive line, got him to stand and block, understood that he was going to get a one-on-one route with Matthew Gold, I think it was Golden, on an out route to the outside. And with that knowledge, and again, doing all of this with the play clock running under 10 seconds, gets the snap, drops back to throw, gets everything, checked the way that it was supposed to, gets Matthew Golden on an out route, connects with him. It's a 10-yard gain, but it's a 10 yards first down out of bounds in a 2-minute drill. That stuff is invaluable. So I think he has plenty of autonomy at the line. My guess is as his career goes along and Matt even gets more faith in him, he'll even open that up more to him. Remember, like Aaron in year 2 as a starter was not Mr. Check into everything at the line of scrimmage. That's not what you wanted him to be. You kind of master the position first. And then once you got everything else down, yeah, add more on his plate. The fact that Jordan was doing some of that stuff in his first year as a starter, Aaron wasn't doing some of that stuff in his first year as a starter. So I'm not saying Jordan's ever going to get to the point where Aaron was. I'm not saying he isn't either. And I think I'm totally fine with where he's at right now. Because sometimes there's a push and a pull with how much autonomy you want to give any quarterback. I think, quite frankly, I think Aaron had too much. I think sometimes there was too much playing at the line of scrimmage. Just go run the play. Like, let your guys go and execute. I think sometimes too much is legitimately too much. So I don't view that as an issue at the moment. And I think he'll continue to get more autonomy up into a point as his career continues to go on. If you knew for a fact that the Packers team made it to the divisional round, but then had their number one weakness exposed, what was the roster weakness and which contender was best suited to exploit it? I think it's pass rush against good offensive line. And I think Minnesota, Philadelphia have the ability to exploit it. To me, this defensive front is going to have to take a step. I know people want to talk about corner. LVN, Rashan Gary, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, that group plus the next group of guys behind them, you got to affect the quarterback. With 4, knowing which 4 are coming, not pulling off some, we're going to drop this guy and bring somebody else. No, do your damn job. And don't just do it against Tennessee, which has Nicholas Petit-Frere as your right tackle. But yeah, doing it against Will Levis and Nicholas Petit-Frere is not anything that you can be proud of. Everyone should be able to do that. Sure. Beat the crappy players when you're going against them. Fine. I want to see it against Lane Johnson. I want to see it against Jordan Mailata. I want to see it against that Eagles offensive line. I want to see it against that Vikings offensive line. I want to see it against good offenses. Go rush the damn passer. Get after the quarterback. You know, the saying in soccer, shout out to my friend Dan for teaching me this one. There are there are great jugglers of the soccer ball that are not great soccer players. There are no great soccer players that can't juggle. Like, it's just a part of the game that you basically have to have if you're a great soccer player. There are no great defenses and no great Super Bowl teams that don't have a good pass rush. And I would say maybe even great pass rush, but I'll at least say a very good pass rush. They've got to get to that point with their front 4 that they have a very good pass rush. It is a prerequisite to being a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion. Rashan Gary, LVN, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt. They've put in the money. They've put in the resources. They've got a new defensive line coach. That's the group. If they can't step up, probably dead on arrival when it comes to facing really good teams. Listen, I love Jeff Hafley. I love the smoke and mirror. It's not even just smoke and mirrors. It's just getting his team prepared and executing a game plan effectively. But at some point, you got to be able to cover with the 7 that you're expected to cover with and get there with the 4 that you're expected to get there with. That's how you can have a true superpower as a defense. And if Gary and Wyatt and Clark and company and LVN cannot do that, it's going to make things exceedingly difficult. Like, almost everything else has to be perfect in order to overcome that one deficiency. Now, what would you do between now and camp to strengthen that weakness? Nothing. All right. So that sounds stupid, right? You're telling me that that's the weakness and that has to be great in order for you to be able to make that jump. The first thing I'll say is that the time and place to make that change probably already came and went. I get maybe a TJ Watt or a TJ Hawkins, or sorry, not TJ Hawkins, and a Hendrickson or Trey Hendrickson are potentially out there. I'll believe that either of those guys actually get traded when they get traded. I also don't think Green Bay will be the team that does that, even if it is in fact the case. I think at this point of the year, as we're ready to get starting into training camp, you go into camp and say, let's see what these guys got. Let's see how Kenny and Devontae, LVN, Rashan Gary, Colin Oliver, Barron Sorrell, Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden, Warren Brinson. Let's see how those guys look. if they look really great, and even if they do, because they look great, that group, not obviously the new guys, but the guys that were there last year looked great in camp last year. Remember, I think it was John Harbaugh, right? That gave a rousing review of the Packers defensive front. Even if they do, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to carry over into the regular season. But I think you let those guys cook first and see what you can do with them, with what the new defensive line coach, DeMarcus Covington, can do with them, and go from there. If you get to the end of camp and it looks ugly, all right, then I might get a little bit more aggressive. It's going to be hard to find somebody at that point. It really is. Or maybe I try again at the trade deadline, but I think the time is mostly past. I don't think there's anything I would do right now. Let's see what those guys can do and then course correct either at the deadline or at the cut down time or at the trade deadline if you really feel like the pass rush isn't where it needs to be. As far as the Andy's version of a RAS, do you think it would serve Love better to get in the wide receivers' butts more for dropping passes or running the wrong routes like 12 did to 17 in year 2? No. I think Jordan can get that message across without it being in your face. And I also think I don't need necessarily the quarterback to be the guy that's getting in his face public. I actually love all right, let's turn the page to the next down. Give me the coaching staff can give me any receivers that I want out there. We're going to go execute this play. And I'm going to trust whoever you put out there with me. I don't care if Dontavian Wicks just dropped the last 2. He's going to go out and run a play. And if he's open, I'm going to throw it his way. And I'm going to trust that he gets the job done. And I think that is Jordan Love's job to go out there, trust his guys that are out there, turn the page to the next play, and get his guys ready to go on the next play. I think berating them publicly out on the field, I don't think that does anything. I really don't. In fact, I think that makes them less likely to be able to go out and execute on the next play. I know for me, and I'm obviously soft, in general, but no, for me, I'm going to be going out running my next route thinking that I just got absolutely annihilated by Aaron Rodgers in the huddle or, at the line, whatever it might have been, right? That's what I'm thinking about as I'm running that route, not what do I need to do to be successful on this play. So I actually like Jordan's demeanor. If I'm the coaching staff and somebody effed something up, get him the hell out. You've got Golden, Wicks, Reed, Dobbs, Savion Williams, and whether it's McCole Hardman, Bo Melton, Malik Heath, you're not running your route the right way, get him the hell out of there. Get somebody else in, and the coaching staff can get after him. That's what the coaches are for. That's what, you have all this depth and talent and competition at wide receiver for. Those guys should be fighting tooth and nail just to get out on the field this upcoming year. So no, I want Jordan to turn the page and get his guys ready for that next play. I want the coaches and the internal competition to dictate who's out there on the field. If you're not performing the way that you're supposed to, there's another guy on the bench that should be ready to go in and take care of that job for you. Can you rank the following players on chances of making the 53? Haddon, Melton, Enagbare, Zane Anderson. Maybe. Melton's last. Man. I actually think I'm going to put Haddon first. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I think he's the next best corner on the not starting group. So not Hobbs, Valentine, or Nixon, not Bullard, obviously, but I think he's the next best corner. So I'm going to put Haddon first, Anderson second, Enagbare third, Melton fourth. A lot of people might put Enagbare first. That might be the right answer. I think Enegbare's contract is very prohibitive at this point. I think he's going to have to really earn that spot. So I'm going to go Haddon, Anderson, Enagbare, Melton, and I'll be totally transparent. I could have that entire order completely wrong. It's a really fun group to kind of try to figure out. I think those 4 will all have a very interesting training camp to decide their fate this upcoming camp. I think you and Basaraski should do a vid together. I had no clue on what topic, but I think it'll be a good show. I think I might be having him come on the radio show next week, which is also now on video. So if you're not checking out the Pack-A-Day radio show, definitely make sure you're doing so. And it is now wherever you get your favorite podcasts and on YouTube as well. So there's some extra content for you if you want it. And I do think we're working on possibly recording or not recording, but going live on Wednesday next week. So that might be happening next Wednesday. 1 second, please. All right. Will the Packers actually be able to mesh the running game and play action this year? Yes. How do more zone concept runs help or hurt this? Do zone concepts or power fit our offense line better? I think the beautiful thing of the offensive line is that they can do everything. I really truly believe that. I think with Banks and Jenkins and whoever is at right guard, whether it's Morgan or Ryan, with Zach Tom's mobility and Rasheed Walker at the left tackle, or even if it's Morgan at left tackle, even if it's Belton somewhere in there, I think they have the guys that can do absolutely anything. Zone blocking, power concepts, do whatever you want. They can do anything. I think Josh doesn't like quite the stretch concepts and the one cut stuff quite as much. I think you want to give him a little bit more creativity and autonomy at the line to kind of, create holes and then let him kind of go from there. I think that's what he enjoys. But yes, I do expect the play action game to be much more involved, much more cohesive. And listen, whether you're running zone or power, there's plenty of play action stuff that you can run off of it. I think Green Bay just needs to do a little bit more of a better job of finding that avenue to make that successful this upcoming season. $20 says Bears bear it up, go 8-9 and fire Poles 1 year after giving him a 5-year extension. I was recording my podcast earlier as that I saw something with Poles. I assumed it was an extension, but I didn't exactly see what that was. So yeah, I think that is interesting that they gave him that extension. And I would bet the under. And if you're telling me, will you see that 5 years through to completion? I will gladly take the under on that. Andy, what's up? Finally caught alive. Harrison, glad you could be here. And thank you so much. I'm glad you were able to catch it. And hopefully you are enjoying a relaxing happy hour. Jesse, I do own a decent chunk of Packers memorabilia. I got my grandpa was an usher for the team back in the day. And I was a kind of a memorabilia collector when I was a lot younger in even middle school, high school stuff. I also have some Packers cards that I really enjoy. I'll show you my two favorites really quick. All right. I know me not being on camera is not exactly the greatest, but these are my two favorites. Charles Woodson, 1/1, flawless auto that in the Packers uni as well. He's got some stuff out there from a Raiders standpoint, but getting the Packers 1/1 with the actual on-card auto, just an absolute sweet card. So that's one of my favorite Packers cards. And then the other one, which is a ridiculously amazing card. I think it's honestly one of the coolest Packers cards that you could own, period. End of story. This is the fact that it's like a early 2000s upper deck, Bart Starr on-card auto with the jersey pieces as well. A game jersey on the card, plus it being Bart Starr. Not only that, but PSA with it being a 10 auto and a 10 gem mint as well. I think this is, again, one of the coolest Packer cards that I have ever seen. So again, like an upper deck card, like you just don't see anything quite like this from Bart Starr. I mean, the auto looks absolutely perfect. You can see it on the bottom. So those are two of my favorites for sure. I've got a few other ones as well. I've got a Jordan auto. I've got a Leroy Butler auto, just from a card standpoint. Not a ton of card stuff. I got the Tim Boyle auto. That's the big one. But yeah, those are two of my favorites. And then allegedly, I actually want to talk to the Packers Hall of Fame about this. Allegedly, I have the flag that was being waved, like the actual flag on game day at Lambeau Field, the Packers flag during the Ice Bowl. So I've actually never even opened it up. I've never touched the thing. It's in like a plastic bag, but allegedly I have the flag from the Packers Ice Bowl. So I actually want to bring it to the Packers Hall of Fame someday, probably just gift it to them or see if we can work out something. It doesn't do anything good in my basement sitting in a box somewhere, right? So I've got a bunch of like random stuff like that as well. But I think that's a pretty cool thing. And like I said, at some point I need to get that over to the Packers, because I think if they want it in the Packers Hall of Fame and whatever, I'm sure they would probably like that if it is in fact. I don't know how you verify that, My grandpa was one of the ones on the field goal post, the one that you see getting torn down at the ice bowl. He was on that. You can see him in the picture, and apparently he just took the flag. So apparently I have the flag. So yeah, we'll talk to the Packers at some point about that. Do I know any Packers autograph memorabilia? Yes, that's one I have. I do have from back in the day when I was a kid. I have a Brett Favre signed football. Don Mikowski's autograph is on that football as well. I think I do have a Rodgers auto somewhere as well on a football. So yeah, I do have some other stuff randomly. I have an Amon Green signed football, a couple things here and there. Loved your offseason episode with Mike Wall. Is he going to be a regular contributor again this season? That is the hope, Jason. I would be pretty bummed if that didn't happen, but I never take any of that stuff for granted. And I know obviously people have stuff that they have busy in their lives, and maybe doing a weekly podcast doesn't always end up being, the thing that's perfect for them. So I think it's going to happen again this year with Mike. We haven't had the opportunity to talk through it just yet, but fingers crossed we'll be back for another season with Mike this upcoming year. Me sitting on my couch eating chips. Wow, dude is 87th. What a loser. It's totally fair, Jay Western. Happy Friday. Anything new with Lambeau this year? That's a great question, Stephen. I don't know. I don't think so. I know them and Green Bay are in a big fight right now, so they wanted to upgrade some stuff, but didn't. I don't know if there's anything else being added or anything. I haven't heard anything. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm all out. Is that an AEW reference? Maybe, probably was right around that time. Looking ahead to next year, how does Belton seriously get in the lineup with Walker, Morgan, and Tom at tackle? Well, the first thing, Z, is I think you have Belton have the flexibility to play some guard as well. In fact, I think he ultimately ends up at right guard. And I think there's some opportunity for him if he does get in that conversation to have him platoon maybe with Sean Ryan as the season goes along, especially if you're expecting to lose Sean Ryan in 2026, right? So I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I think with Belton, you just take it slowly. I don't think there's any rush here. I think with all of these players, we get in the mindset of like, they got to be great right away. And it's really fun if they're great right away. I would prefer they were great right away, but Green Bay takes a little bit more of a long-term approach and lets these guys develop at their own pace. I think they're going to take it very slow with Anthony Belton. I think he will be somewhere between the 7th and 10th offensive lineman on the team this year. And I think they're fine with that. I think they would love if they didn't have to put a rookie offensive lineman out there in his first year and gave him that season to develop. So I think the goal for Belton will be to be ready to be a starter. Well, clearly if they need him this year, they'll try to get him ready. But I think the goal for Belton will be to have him ready next year when they probably lose Rasheed Walker and Sean Ryan. And you're probably looking at an offensive line of Jordan Morgan, Aaron Banks, probably Elton Jenkins, Anthony Belton, and Zach Tom. And so I think getting him ready for 2026 is probably the long-term approach, but they'll try to get him ready as quickly as he can. But listen, if he ends up with a redshirt year and hopefully everyone on the offensive line just stays healthy, that's a totally fine outcome here for Anthony Belton as well. Christian McCaffrey might be cooked. We're about to find out this upcoming season. That's for sure. My initial reaction, Chicken, was no. Kyle Juszczyk is not a Hall of Famer. When you say 10 Pro Bowls and 2 All-Pros, that immediately got me paused. But no, I think he would have probably had to have like 10 All-Pros, I think, to make it as a fullback. Like, you have to be not only like a consensus All-Pro year after year, like you have to be like the Devin Hester of fullbacks, like the greatest of all time. I don't quite put Juszczyk in that category. So no, I do not think he's a Hall of Famer. I agree, Engine. Gross. What is your honest gut feeling on Rashan Gary this year? Probably similar to what we saw the last 2 years, somewhere between 40 and 60 pressures. Good, solid player, not epic, not breakout, not anything like that, but just a good, solid football player. Hopefully still really good against the run like he was this past year. Somebody that you want on your team, but not somebody that's in that Pro Bowl kind of conversation. That's my expectation. Hope I'm wrong, and I hope he goes out and kills it as the best year of his career. Andy, there's a certain well-known Daily Packers podcaster who really likes citing stats such as DVOA and EPA. I don't know who you're talking about, Engine. What exactly goes into those metrics? Do they truly matter? I really like Peter's approach to statistical analysis. And I would actually argue that it's something that I need to do a better job of. I really enjoy my tape analysis, but I do think I need to probably be a little bit better at using some of the statistical analysis. And it's not something that I've probably done a good enough job of on this channel so far. Speaking of which, I just got done talking to Warren Sharp for Monday's episode, and Warren was phenomenal. And the statistical stuff he brought to the table in that show, I think, is really going to be something that you guys really enjoy. And just even reiterated to myself even more of like, I probably need to be better at that. As far as EPA, DVOA, we're not going to have the time here to get into the entire detail of both of those. To be honest, Engine, you can do a pretty simple search of DVOA and EPA, and it's not, neither of them are hard concepts. They're both very easy concepts to understand, and kind of just reading the, AI definition that Google will spit back at you will give you everything that you need to know. It's basically taking some of the advanced analytics and numbers and putting them together, especially DVOA, based on your strength of opponent, and spitting out who's actually best at offense, best at defense, best at special teams, and kind of putting that ranking together. Then EPA is more efficiency based. So obviously DVOA has a level of that as well, but they're both valuable. There's no perfect silver arrow statistic, right? There's nothing that's going to tell you everything perfectly, but I do think DVOA and EPA are solid statistics to use. I think they both have their own value, but it's like if you put all of your stock into any one statistic overall, you're probably going to be left wanting for a little bit more. There's no perfect data point to anything that's going to get you the exact answers that you want. It's a tool. It's a tool to utilize, which is helpful, but not the be all end all. If it would just tell us who's going to win the Super Bowl because DVOA tells us so or EPA tells us so. But it does give you a more broad baseline approach to who's actually good in those areas than just a general box score or some of that sort of stuff would. So I do think it has its value. All right, Adam. I am from Central PA, right near where the Steelers hold their camp. What do you think the odds are Aaron would sign an old Packers jersey? I doubt that there's many times that Aaron is signing in general, but if you were there when he was signing, I don't think he'd have any issue signing a Packers jersey at all whatsoever. I think he'd be totally open to it. So if you could get that opportunity, I think he would totally do it. I don't know how much time Aaron's going to be spending signing. Maybe a little bit, but probably not a ton. Who'll be the pulling guard on counter run plays? Morgan, Banks, Ryan? Yes. They'll pull anyone that they want to pull. Morgan can do it. Banks can do it. Ryan can do it. Banks is awesome at it. So they can pull, if they want to pull left guard outside, either left or right, they can do it. If they want to pull right guard, right or left, they can do it. They can do anything that they want in that situation. The guards are very active, mobile, agile, and they can do anything that they want in that situation. Ben, thank you very much. Glad that you are here. Please find the closest pro comp for Golden among active wide receivers that are in the league 3 years or less. I can't do it now. I don't think there's a perfect one, is what I would say. There's little bits and pieces of different wide receivers that he reminds me of. Terry Glenn, Emmanuel Sanders, some of the speedy guys out there. But I don't think there is a 1A perfect comp for Matthew Golden. And I think the truth is, I think what makes it a little bit tougher as well for Golden is even if you watch his Texas stuff and his Houston stuff, he looks like two totally different wide receivers. So I don't even think there's a comp like within his tape of that makes a ton of sense. Matthew Golden, either way, is going to go out and make his own career, be his own person, and be his own wide receiver. Hopefully, we're talking about people comparing other wide receivers to Matthew Golden in the future, and people wanting number 22 because Matthew Golden wore it so amazingly, even though it's a little bit of a bizarre number. Do I think CV has a chance to be a true number one corner? Sure. I'm not necessarily putting money on it, not guaranteeing on it. I'm not banking on it, but I think the talent's there. I think the demeanor's there. And I think this is the year we're going to know a lot about CV. I think there is a better player there than what we've seen on the field so far. He's a confident player. He has a great feel and instinct for the position. And I think he's really only scratching the surface of what he can become we all have that recency bias with, seeing that Dallas Goedert play in the playoffs. Don't think that's going to define Terrence Valentine as a player. Expect him to have a really solid season. He had a really solid season before that. I think with him having a more defined role this upcoming season, you're going to see him just have a lot more confidence and play that way this upcoming season. So do I think it can happen? Yes. Will it happen? That remains to be seen. I love when you and Paul Farrington have a crossover show, one of the Packer fans that made him go from Vikings only to the entire North. Yeah, those guys do a great job. Going to be talking to them about maybe doing a few more, maybe a home and home here and there during the course of the season, or just trying to figure out a little bit more of a rotation. Had the opportunity to go on his show recently. If you haven't had the chance to check that out yet, and obviously had him on while I was out on vacation. Whew, had a lot of time sitting in this chair today. Is it possible that Jordan Love is the big winner of all the offseason drama with Jair? Feels like Jordan has zero offseason conversation about injuries and ceiling conversations. Maybe, but that dies as soon as the season starts, right? That pressure will pick up right away in week one. It's an important season for Jordan. I think he'll answer the bell, answer the call. I think he's going to have an awesome season. I think you're really going to want to hear what Warren Sharp had to say about Jordan Love on Monday's show, or for all of you who are members, you'll get it probably later today. I think you're really going to want to check in on that, but I think he's going to be great, and I don't think he's going to have to worry about it. But sure, the offseason maybe was a little bit nicer for him, but that pressure will ramp up as soon as he throws his first pick. That pressure will ramp up really quick. Trust Love with how he works with those wide receivers and tight ends offense as a whole. There are steps where he needs to improve, but he can and he will. I think that's for most quarterbacks, right? But yeah, I think this is the tone setter for Jordan this upcoming year of who he is as a quarterback. I think he's going to rise to the occasion. Under 2 weeks, it's like not even that, right? Isn't like what, 10 days at this point? 9 days, something. Let's see, it's next Wednesday, of course. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I guess we're 12 days away. So yes, under 2 weeks, but yeah, 12 days away. All right. What changes and improvements in our offense did you see after Robert Saleh started with us last year? Nothing of note. Nothing of note. In fact, I mean, the last 3 weeks were very disappointing, and the games against Chicago and Philadelphia were extremely disappointing offensively. So nothing of note would be my answer to that, Dwayne. I'm sure there were some, that's not an indictment of Robert Saleh or bringing him in or anything like that. Just think more circumstantial. Nothing stood out to me. I'd have to probably go back and watch it with a closer eye to see if there were some changes that they made. I'm sure there were a couple things here and there, but on the whole, I don't think the offense played their best down the stretch of the season. Working out in this weather should get you in tip-top shape. Yeah, it's hot out there right now. So yeah, go get your workouts in and try to be a little bit more active as of late myself. Not at that level, clearly, but just trying to get a few more steps in. Anticipatory swig of soda. Take one now, Engine. Thank you so much. All right. Not that anyone cares, but my water heater gave up. Ooh, that's not great. I do not envy that on anyone, Ben. And hopefully you can get that fixed. But those are the expenses that are always a massive pain in the ass because you're not expecting it. You're not planning for it. It's super expensive. And it's the last thing that you want to spend any money on whatsoever. And you didn't gain anything by it, right? You had a water heater that worked. And now you're paying a bunch of money to have a water heater that worked. And the only reason you had to do it is because it stopped working. Now you have to get a new one. There's nothing worse than an expense like that. It's absolutely terrible. Thanks, Engine. When you were here, your water heater dripping water, that is a sickening feeling. Or when you hear your water. Yeah. Not great. Not great. Awesome cards. I was a big collector as a kid. Recently sold a LeBron 1/1 at auction for a lot of money and want to start buying some Packers cards. That's awesome. I wish you would have told me about I wouldn't have had the money, I'm sure, for a LeBron 1/1, but that would have been a cool card to see. Craig, send me it via email. I'd love to see which one you had. That'd be a cool card to check out. But yeah, during COVID, I was a huge collector when I was a kid. Around the age of 16, 17, 18, somewhere around there, I decided to basically sell off my entire collection. I think I bought like an N64 and a bunch of games and basically paid for everything with the collection that I sold off. So that was worth it at the time. Wish I still had some of those cards, no doubt about it. But basically took a hiatus. Basically, that was the end of it. I would go to card shows and be like a dealer or like I would have a table set up at age, I don't know, I was like a sixth grader, seventh grader probably. And me and my buddy would go and we'd have a table set up. We'd have our cases full of cards. We would just go to trade. We'd pay the, like $60 fee or whatever. We'd split it to have a table set up at the card show and just spend the entire day there trading with people, talking with people. It was the best. It was absolutely awesome. And really loved it. Then didn't do anything with it. And then during COVID, it was just such a weird time. I'm like, yeah, I'll pick up some cards. So picked up the Woodson and the Star and a couple other ones. And it's fun to get back in the hobby. I've sold a bunch since then. Got a sweet Giannis auto. We'll probably sell some of these at some point. So if you're interested, I won't sell the Woodson. I think the Woodson's going to be one I keep kind of forever. But the Bart Star one, if it fits your fancy, it's an expensive one, but I'd be willing to listen. But yeah, I'll probably sell them off at some point again. But it was fun to kind of get back into it for, during COVID when there was not a whole lot going on during that time. My claim to collectible fame, mini helmet signed by the top 2 leading scorers in Packers history. That's awesome. Love that for you, Chris. Nags 15 and 36 goes a lot farther than it used to. You say so. Steven, about the Lambeau question, I know they completely redid the main locker room. Curious to see how different it looks. That is one that they did spend a lot of time on. Good call, Grable. Carla gifting 5 memberships. You are the best, Carla. Thank you so much for that. Joe, thank you for the super chat. I work media and hockey for various levels. For the Minnesota Frost, we were told not to root, show bias. Does the same apply in the press box at Lambeau? Absolutely. It is a 0 cheer zone. They remind everyone of that every single time for both the home and away people in the press box, the national media, etc. Every like a big catch or something, you'll hear a ooh or an ah here or there. More not necessarily cheering, not being like, yeah, way to go, but like, oh, more of like, oh, that was a big play. But that's about as much as you get in the press box. I have no qualms with that, to be honest. I have no issue with it. It's a professional working environment, right? So it's not something that's difficult. I don't have to like check myself. I've never almost cheered for a play, but like, oh yeah, hell yeah. Never been anything like that. I'm pretty chill during games anyway. I'm not the guy that's like going crazy for plays or freaking out or anything like that. Just kind of the way that I am. So I'm not like a freak out cheer guy in and of itself. So I don't know, suits me well, fits me perfectly. I enjoy being there at the stadium. Seeing everything happen live. I think there's all different worlds. I love being in the stands when I'm in the stands and cheering on the team and going crazy for some of those plays. I love being in the press box for those moments. I love being at home in front of my TV for the away game. I think, kind of getting to experience that from all angles is a perfect situation for myself. I like to track wins and losses. That's a good statistic to track, Dennis. Is it just me or does Davion just scream Tyron Hopper year one? Savion? Savion, maybe. It wouldn't shock me if Savion was a redshirt guy this year. In fact, I've talked about this in the past. If they keep 6 wide receivers, there's a real strong possibility if everyone's healthy that Savion's the inactive guy, even if he might have like more upside talent than a Hardman or a Heath or a Melton. I think those guys are probably a little bit more game ready and just give you a little bit more special teams and or blocking value at this point in time. And you probably don't need another pass catcher because Golden and Wicks and Reed and Dobbs and eventually Watson are going to be giving you that. So I think there's a real strong chance that Savion is inactive and it's the other wide receiver, whoever they keep, that's actually active on game day. Is the fact that there isn't a match for Golden a good or bad thing? Irrelevant. Neither. Just think he's his own guy. And I think there's little bits and pieces of other receivers that you can see in his game, but I don't think there's an exact kind of one of one. I think that's kind of the way for most people. You can see little pieces of different players and a player here or there, but I don't think it changes anything one iota. Pro Bowl linebacker. That's my expectation for Edge Cooper. It's a high expectation. It's a high ceiling to set. But that's my expectation for him. That's what I want to see him be, is a Pro Bowl linebacker this upcoming season. I know the Pro Bowl itself doesn't matter, but that honor, if you will. Did the same stuff at the mall card shows was so much fun. Miss those days. Me too, Craig. That was a lot of fun back in the day. I assume chicken means Savion. Yes. I feel like Savion will get on the field more than Hopper did quite easily. In fact, just a matter of what he does. He'll get more than Hopper, but Hopper got what, like 10, 12 snaps, something like that. But I could easily see, like, you told me he had 100 snaps this year. I could easily see that, unless he's either A, tearing it up, or B, there's some injuries at wide receiver. And yeah, another one. Marshawn Lloyd, cannot wait to see him this season as well. All right, friends, we hit, one more. Brandon, which two players do you? That I don't have an answer for, Brandon. Might need a little bit, or Brody. Brandon Brody. All right, Brandon Brody. Need a little bit more on that question. But if we get that in time, I'll get to that one more question. But in the meantime, I'm going to kind of wrap things up here. I do need to go pick up my kids from summer school. So I'm going to go do that momentarily. Oh, there we go. Which two players do you think will take the biggest jump? Well, I did my draft with Justice, right? So I'm going to go with those guys. I'll say Luke Musgrave and Marshawn Lloyd. I think those were my first two draft picks in my draft with Justice. So I'll go Luke Musgrave and Marshawn Lloyd. There could be a lot of them, though. There's like 30 answers that you could give that are viable answers to that question. Go Pack Go, Most State of Minnesota. Appreciate it. Craig, appreciate you as well. Thank you all for being here. Over 100 people in chat on an off-season Friday, a little bit earlier than usual at 2:30 p.m. Cannot thank you guys enough. I will see you guys for members-only Q&A next week. Should get those 3 episodes for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday up later today. So if you are a Pack-A-Day member, you're going to get those probably pretty soon here, if not by later tonight at the latest. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Stay safe. Training camp is just a week and a half away. I cannot wait for it. Make sure you're subscribed, like, comment, give those 5-star reviews over on the podcast channels, and make sure you're getting the notifications and checking out those Pack-A-Day Podcast YouTube memberships as well. I'll see you all very soon. Have a great weekend. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.